Last week, we introduced you to Joe Johnson, the man organizing a toy drive for children with cancer. This week, Joe shares more about his work, his goals, and his story.
Joe Johnson refers to his organization, OneForJoe, as a movement dedicated to helping people, $1 at a time.
I started the OneForJoe campaign. It's Grandpa's theory. If you need $1 million, you ask 1 million people for $1. And as crazy as it sounds, it's exactly what I'm trying to do. And 100% of the money goes directly to fund events in the community. So far, since I launched the program, we've been able to coordinate a food drive concert, generated quite a bit of food, glow-in-the-dark golf tournament for Blind Incorporated, where we turned darkness into cash for the blind. Did a big military tribute with Tim Mahoney, the National Guard. We brought in some folks there and did a big military tribute.
Joe has put on a variety of events supporting different causes over the last 18 months, but there are two organizations he focuses on the most.
The focus so far has been helping Blind Incorporated, people that are blinded in everyday life. They've done nothing to bring this on themselves. It happens, and they need to be retrained to go home and be able to cook and clean and work computers and take jobs and go back into society. So I like to help them. Another big one is the Miracles of Mitch Foundation for children battling cancer. It's, life gets in the way sometimes, and they're facing the most difficult and challenging battle of their lives. So I want to step in and try and help them at that point and try and bring their lives a little better.
As a fundraiser for Blind Incorporated, Joe has hosted 2 glow-in-the-dark golf events at Majestic Oaks and Ham Lake, showing people just a glimpse of what it would be like to live with blindness.
The day I went into Blind Incorporated, I knew I wanted to help them. What they do there is they'll take people like this year, our golf event this year, our keynote speaker was Andrew, who's an attorney from Chicago, who was in his last semester of law school, and he got in an accident and bam, he was blind. And at that point, people get knocked off their feet and they don't know what they're going to do or how they're going to get back. And so they go to Blind Incorporated and they teach them how to cook and clean and use computers and go back to school and back to work and do the things they want to do. And one of their final exam tests is they take these completely blind students to a random place in Minneapolis and drop them off and say, good luck, and they throw them out of the car, and they have to navigate their way back to Blind Incorporated through the city, through the people, through the taxis, and through the buses to find their own way back completely unassisted. And so when Andrew was standing up there, he ended up taking the final exam 5 times because he had so much fun doing it. And so now for him, he's ready to go back to Chicago. He's done with law school. He's ready to step into his law practice, and he knows how to use the phone and how to use the computer and how to navigate the bus system, and he's ready to get going again. So it's an amazing, powerful thing that they do to take people that don't know where else to turn and completely empower them and put them right back in their world. I love that. So with the glow-in-the-dark golf event, we do it at Majestic Oaks. It'll be in September again of this coming year. We don't have the date yet, but we will. But with that one, it's completely organized and coordinated by blind volunteers. So last year we had over 20 blind volunteers. They do the greeting, the registration, they put wristbands on people, serve the food, they actually work all the sponsorship holes. The entire event is coordinated by completely blind volunteers, which makes it fun and makes it powerful because it puts them public facing, and it gives them an opportunity to meet employers and people from the Chamber of Commerce and people from Minneapolis businesses and the Workforce Development Center. And so that event is less about raising money and more about just shedding light on their darkness and giving them a public face so they can go out and show people exactly what they're capable of.
Joe made such an impact on the people at Blind Incorporated that they turned around to help him with last year's toy drive.
And one of the things they do in their training is they have a fully functional wood shop in the basement. So they have completely blind students in there with blackout masks running table saws and routers and skill saws. But in any case, last year we had such a good time at the golf event, they turned around, they turned their wood shop into a toy factory and spent a month. They filled it with blind elves, and they spent an entire month making toys and board games and handheld things for the kids to do. And they actually showed up at last year's toy drive with boxes and boxes of handmade toys for the kids with cancer.
In addition to raising money for causes, Joe also looks to make lasting connections in the community and was able to connect a McDonald's with a local food shelf in a way that will help make a difference every day.
I worked with the young professionals in Minnesota, and we coordinated a food drive concert with Tim Mahoney and Bobby Burns. And that event raised food at the event, it raised cash at the event, but the larger picture of that is things like that event generated an introduction from the Chamber of Commerce to the local McDonald's, who is now pledging 25 cents of every Happy Meal permanently to that food shelf. So on the scope of the big picture over the course of a year, that's $60,000, $70,000 annually, permanently for that. So it's powerful. All in all, after everything is said and done with all of the events I've coordinated so far, it's about $100,000 have been raised for local organizations.
That's great. Throughout his life, Joe has been forced to face repeated hardships. When he was a teen, his brother died, his family became homeless, and he dropped out of school to work full-time. He went on to get his GED and developed a deep drive to succeed. His career path didn't go the way he intended, causing him to reconsider his real priorities.
You know, a lot of people are knocked down right now, and I'm one of them. I had a great career with Brinks Home Security. I was in the top 5% in the nation and doing wonderfully, and then the company sold. And the office was closed, and now I'm kind of got knocked off my feet. And I've got a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old little girl, and I'm trying to show them that just because we don't have a lot of things and we can't take vacations and stay in hotels and do some of the things that their friends do, we can still do some pretty powerful stuff. And just because we don't have a lot of money right now doesn't mean we can't set out to change the world if we want to. I want to give them that lesson, and I want to show them that, you know, even a guy like their dad, of limited means, can do some pretty powerful stuff just because you're doing the right thing for the right reasons for the right people.
And Joe has already seen some of his ideals begin to rub off on his children.
I think the biggest is with my son Talon, because last year we were planning and working on this toy drive, and he came home so proud that he was elected to the student council, and he said, I already talked to the principal, Dad, and we're going to vote to see if we can turn our toys into for the Miracles of Mitch Foundation. And with his school, the previous year they had collected 18 toys. And so once he got on the student council and rallied all his little friends, and they all got together and they were cheering each other on, and it went from 18 toys the year before to 141 toys for the Miracles of Mitch. And he was just so proud and so happy to be part of it. And I've got a picture of him holding a fancy scooter, and it's the scooter that he wanted for Christmas. But, you know, just watching him hand that over and put it in the trailer for the other kids, it's powerful. It's good to be able to see that in the kids, that they get the value of giving, and that it's not about these material items, and it's not, you know, it's okay that we don't have a lot, and there may be a million things that I can't do for them, but there's still a couple of powerful things I can give them. And it's, you know, it's things like this, it's showing them how to live a better life and how to do things for people in the community.
Joe is now working on a new business venture. He's building a directory of businesses run by veterans and hiring veterans to work for him at the same time.
TrustVets.com is going online this month. It's a list of local service providers that are also veterans. So fellow veterans and general population civilians can go on there and find insurance agents and realtors and mortgage brokers and bankers and dentists and pharmacists. It's the whole point of Trust Vets is to drive business to veterans to thank them for their service. So fellow vets and civilians can go on there and actually use veterans because they've already earned our trust. They deserve our business. They've fought for our country. So now I want to try and drive business to them. And through the scope of that, now I can employ fellow veterans to go out and to work on the sales staff with this. So we're actually hiring vets to help vets.
Thinking about OneForJoe, Johnson says that he would love to do more events and has incredibly generous offers from businesses volunteering their space to him. But it's still money that's holding him back.
I would love to see OneForJoe grow. I'm working on bigger events and different events and cool things. There's been some really great venues in town that have offered their venue. Come on in, do an event here. So it's just, at this point, it's a matter of raising the money to actually fund the events. It gets expensive, even with the military tribute. That was just where we came together and sang, and had thousands of people that came together to sing as a thank you to the troops. And with that one, there was, even with that, there's a $1.5 million insurance umbrella you have to buy ahead of time. And so there's a lot of costs involved, you know, outside of the website and the printing and the postage and the flyers and all of the rest of that. There's actual hard event costs that come up. And so it's very much contingent on people being willing to take a chance and go on the website and pledge a buck. You know, at OneForJoe.com, it's through PayPal, or there's a mailing address, a local post office box here that I use for that. But the more money that comes in, the more events we can do, the bigger they can get, the more people we can help.
Joe wants everyone to know that regardless of their circumstances, there are ways to help and ways to make a difference.
And when I meet people in the community, and especially through the course of the events, at the heart of it is the fact that it doesn't matter how much you're able to give. If you want to give, there's ways to do it. There's ways that you can help. And even if you only have a little bit, even if you only have a buck, you can take that a long ways to actually helping people in the community.
For North Metro TV News, Danika Peterson reporting.